Hey up lads and lasses, Damphyre here, back again with some more Infinite Lagrange. Today talking about the Ceres, as I mentioned within the Guardian video, because I thought it made sense because they've got all three of a support type and an aircraft type, and then a other variant, bar the Tundra, which doesn't have a third variant. So, the Ceres, unlike the other two, is not a corvette carrier. It is a fighter carrier. It can carry medium fighters, which does put it in a bit of an awkward situation now because you kind of don't want anything on here for, well, anything really. It's in a awkward spot because it has no cooldown on its aircraft. I think we have one flight time and primary weapon cooldown, means it's a terrible pick for something like the Mistral, whereas you could put that on the Tundra, get a base evasion increase, a base hit rate increase, and then more hit rate increases on from the ship itself, and it makes the Mistrals absolutely and utterly devastating. If you are lower on tech points though, or you don't have the Tundra unlocked with max tech points and your Mistrals aren't max, Ceres can be used. I just want to point out though that it can recover the HP by 10% of aircraft that go back and come back on the RTB, and you can increase that. This is an awful ability and generally speaking doesn't work particularly well at all. The only reason you see me maybe speak about the Solar Whale having the same system is because that can give you a triple cooldown mod, which is obviously really nice for T800. On this though, no cooldown mods does put it in a pretty bad spot, to be honest with you. That being said, if you are going to use it though, hit rate upgrade is pretty much necessary on most ships that are carrying any of the fighters, because you want to try and get the hit rate up as high as possible. Good options for this for me personally I would say are like the Strix, Mistral if you have to. However, the Tundra will do a better job in pretty much all aspects of this ship. So the hit rate, like I mentioned, you can go on lock-on speed here as well if you want to get them out a little bit quicker, which is nice. The cooldown is an obvious pick here as well. You only have one of though. And then after that, you're kind of in a position where it's like, well, the aircraft emergency repair doesn't really help too much. The hangar armor doesn't help at all, really. The airborne weapon maintenance isn't going to help too much because, again, you're putting these on medium fighters. They don't have particularly large alpha anyway, which means that the damage increases on them are only going to be like 1-2 damage at max on most of the ships. So you can generally ignore that, which kind of puts you in a position where it's like, well, chance of being hit by guided weapons actually not bad on it, especially with the fact that winged hussar is all over the place nowadays, including light cone as well, and both of those are guided missile systems that hit your aircraft, so that works quite nicely. And then a further evasion increase is quite nice as well. So that's pretty much how you build it. You go hit rate, cooldown, target lock-on speed, chance of being hit by guided weapons, and missile evasion. Gives you fills up your slots quite nicely. You can get the 5% damage increase, I wouldn't know, and it's an emergency aircraft repair as well here, which means this gets buffed and it's just not worth anyway. Even buffed, it's just not good enough to heal aircraft back up. They're normally dead. If they're getting targeted, they're dead. Let's face it. They are very, very squidgy medium aircraft, so they don't last particularly long at all. After that, I recommend going into the emergency system here, picking up the double HP. Again, like before, pick up the armor towards the end of fitting everything out. Generic battery system here, you have counter attack on here, but you can give it anti-aircraft support, giving it row-wide ability to attack. Again though, no. You've only got 60 damage per hit, so you're only going to get 6 damage from any of the weapon damage mods, so you could probably ignore that. I recommend picking up the cooldown, the lock-on efficiency. The spreads weapon fire across 2 targets is actually quite nice. It does take a bit more time to, say, kill a single target off, but if you're wearing them down at the same rate, and you have you know, Mistrals or Strix in tow, you're going to kill the aircraft a little bit quicker. And I do recommend picking up the spreads weapon fire across at that point, and that is 4 slots for your double, so your cooldown, your lock on, your weapon fire, and your aircraft support. So you can actually pick up 1 damage mod, but I wouldn't recommend picking up 2, because again, you are only going to get 60 damage per hit. There is no extra bonuses here, giving you, you know, extra damage against fighters of anything or of that nature, which is a bit unfortunate, to say the least. Command system here, it's the only one that actually put the strategic strike on the right ship for some reason. I'm kind of surprised it's not on the support. It probably is. I'll go into the support now to be there as well. So yeah, increase aircraft cruising speed by 25%. That's actually not bad. Again, strategic strike is pretty much same as everywhere else. I wouldn't pick up the aircraft emergency repair. I wouldn't even use this ship for strategic strikes, and that's because it's loaded medium fighters, and fighters are awful in strikes. You want corvettes because corvettes stay on the battlefield during the strike, whereas fighters have to sort of go out, fight a little bit, come back to rearm, fly out, and then you end up in this situation where they do next to no damage because they're mostly in travel, like 90% of the time. Obviously, you can mitigate that a little bit with the aircraft engine enhancement, but I have tried this, and yeah, it wasn't worth it, unfortunately. So that's pretty much it. It's same on the propulsion system for everything else, really. You can go double warp speed here if you really want, or go warp speed, cruise speed. So yeah, not a bad little ship. Again, if it's the only way you can carry medium fighters into the game, into battle, use it. If you have Predators or you have Tundras, use those instead. In my opinion, they are just flat out better. And yeah, otherwise, it's a shame because it's probably one of my favorite looking ships. You know, there's slight asymmetry at the front with the hangar on one side, and it's just a great looking ship. And that sort of triangular body, it's good. It's good. So, over onto the support type now, and this pretty much similar to the Tundra and the Guardian, is in it gets overshadowed. Personally, I think it's overshadowed by the Noma. I find more healing output on the Noma for some reason. That's 5 CP. This is 8 CP, and you get 2 UAVs, but the 2 UAVs seem to be worse than the 1 UAV off the Noma. That being said, the Noma does get, I think it's 3 repair effectiveness upgrades, so it actually gets quite a big, boost to its UAV system. And then again, over with the CAS ARCs, that's running 3 UAVs, so it just has higher healing potential anyway than this, which is a shame. But this is your 3rd best option for a healing ship if you don't have anything else. Definitely run it. Again, more against NPCs than you do players. It won't go into an immortal fleet or anything like that. The CAS is a requirement for that fleet. So if you're thinking of going SD59, I'll back it up with Ceres and make an immortal fleet, it won't work. You have nothing tanking for the Ceres, which means you have to end up putting things like Tauruses and Guardians and stuff in just to try and soak up damage before it goes to the Ceres support. At which point they all die too quickly because they don't have the armor to really tank and stuff. So yeah, don't try Immortal Fleet with Ceres support. It really won't work out for you too well, which is a shame. Does sort of work to an extent in a hybrid fleet. You can run a similar sort of hybrid fleet with a little bit of sustain in there. Generally speaking, though, those hybrid fleets are all damage output, and you're losing, 8 CP for each support ship they put into it for extra damage output. That being said, probably going into the tactical UAV system here first. You've got lock-on speeds, hit rate doesn't really do anything, flight time's quite nice here, reduction, chance of being hit by guided weapons. So it's similar to the Guardian in that you don't really have too much choice because 2 of these are completely worthless. Emergency repairs, again, same problem that the Guardian and the Tundras have. In my opinion, Probably going to start off with lock-on speed and then the flight time reduction. Pick up the guided weapon, reduced chance of being hit by guided weapons. This will give it a little bit survivability, and the emergency repairs. Followed by the armor system. We go into double HP and one of the physical resistances, and then going into its general battery system here, where again you do get the nice anti-aircraft support, which is quite cool. You get 5 slots on here as well, so you can go anti-aircraft support, double cooldown, lock-on efficiency, and a damage mod, same as the aircraft type. Propulsion, you get an extra propulsion here for whatever reason they decided this needs one extra module. Double warp speed is and cruising speed is what I go for, or you can go double cruising speed, warp speed, depending on your preference. And again, in the armor system, pick up the armor towards the end. So tactical UAV system, armor system, generic battery, prop system. Now onto the tactical type, and this thing is interesting. I started using this a little bit before they buffed it, and the way that they buffed it was actually quite interesting. It came with all those additional modules, and it's the same buff that the Predator Tactical got. Unfortunately, I had Predator Tactical at the point where I got this, so it kind of made it redundant, but I was previously running it in fleet with IO high speeds. They're the Type B with a really high accuracy, very rapid fire guns, and it was specifically to shred through that swarm fleet, the destroyer frigate swarm fleet, and it would mincemeat them. And it helped having I only had about 2 to 4 of these within fleet, and that's because they're giving 20% hit rate to the ship's targets, and you could force them to prioritize cruisers. And if my only cruisers in fleet were IO high speeds, all those IO high speeds were now getting, you know, a 20% buff per UAV, so a hell of a lot of hit rate bonuses. I do want to point out that it says it's a 20% hit rate bonus, but on average, when we calculated it and did the data runs for it, we found it was roughly about a 12% hit rate change. So not particularly great there. Again, for this, you want to pick up the prioritized support if you are running cruisers. I would not run this in any other fleet where you only have one selection of cruisers. Chimera heavy cannon, just on its own with these, or IO high speeds, or even the base IOs would be really nice with this. Callistos to an extent you could probably run with this as well. Do not run too many. You only need like 3 or 4 to buff 8 cruisers quite efficiently, because they are quite CP intensive. At 8 CP to bring in something that's only buffing another thing is a little bit sort of redundant in itself. Again though, you can pick up the extra 10% hit rate here, which does actually bring it up, and we tested this on the Predator, and it's roughly gone to about 16 to 17% hit rate bonus, which is actually quite nice, because that's 3 UAVs giving you a sort of 15 to 18% hit rate bonus per one. So you get quite a lot of hit rate extra. Double cooldown is where I go with this, and then you go for a target lock-on speed. You only have 4 slots, which is unfortunate. Although saying that, hit rate and system HP are redundant, so you're kind of forced into the best build anyway, in my opinion. If you're not taking prioritized support because you have this within a destroyer fleet, don't do that in the first place. But at that point, probably system HP is probably the way to go, yeah, because the hit rate's generally not going to do anything. It doesn't have any AA UAVs or anything like that, so it's completely redundant there. After that, going into the armor system, going double HP, pick up the armor resistance towards the end. Going into its generic battery system, same as before, anti-aircraft support, double cooldown, lock-on efficiency, and top it off with one of the damages. And that's pretty much it. You pick up the armor now, you can pick it up after the propulsion system, and double warp speed, cruising speed is my go-to at the moment, but double cruising speed, warp speed is also an option. So yeah, the tactical type, like I said, ran it. It did really well in that weird little IO anti-Frig Destroyer Swarm. That's not meta anymore. You could argue hybrid is somewhat Frig Destroyer, but there are battle cruisers and the likes in there, so you tend to need some heavy hitters. So you tend to not just bring IO type Bs, you tend to have like Callistos in your fleet and that kind of thing to be able to deal with battle cruisers that the enemy fleet will have in fleet, as well as the carriers and stuff. So you're kind of in a bad situation where this thing can then, you know, it's got two different types of cruisers you want to buff, but generally speaking, you only really want it to buff the ones that are trying to kill off the frigates and destroyers, not the Callisto that are hitting the battle cruisers that have basically no dodge rate anyway, and the Callisto is going to do some work on them regardless. So yeah, unfortunately, metas phase the tactical type out, the meta switch anyway. Maybe one day we'll see it come back, because it's a great little ship. But like I said, you are arguing 8 CP to give sort of around 30 to 45% hit rate buffs to a few ships, which you could argue is bad, because you could spend 8 CP on just more damage output. So there you go. But yeah, again, one of my favourite looking ships in the game. Covered in dust nowadays, unfortunately. There are just better ships than it. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.